Well, welcome back, you absolute stellar legends. Today, we're going to be doing a couple of videos. We're going to start off with Concord costing Sony $400 million. So just before we get into the video today, I just want to welcome everybody. We have over 100 new subscribers over the past week, and the week is not even over. I think we might actually hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the month. We have 10 days to go until we reach October. So welcome everybody. I appreciate everybody joining. Let's get to the video. So, as you guys know, that I played Concord. I played I played the closed beta on day one. And you guys know my thoughts on it. It was a lackluster game. Sure, there were parts that it did look nice, but ultimately it was a very, very imbalanced game, especially since every player controls drastically different. If you don't get your hands on the character that you actually like and that you're good with, you're going to be playing with a character that throws knives that you're not going to be good at, and you're going to get killed. So the game was really imbalanced. So it came out that people thought that the game would actually cost Sony $200 million. I don't remember exactly where that figure came from, but recently it's actually been leaked that the game potentially costs Sony $400 million. That is crazy, man. That is a crazy amount of money. I think that is actually if it is true, it is the most expensive flop Sony has ever worked on, because 11 days after the game was fully launched, and you paid your $40 American or $50 Canadian, 11 days later, they pulled it off the store. They closed the PlayStation servers. I think Steam stayed up for a little bit longer than Sony, but Sony was down on that the moment they announced it, and they proactively refunded everybody's purchase for the game. And man, that was insane. You couldn't even search for it on the store. So let's go to smashjt.com. Let's also go and check out SmashJT's channel. Give him a subscribe. He's a great content creator, and you guys know how much heat he's been under with Kotaku and all these other crazy lunatics trying to actually ruin his life, being threatened with lawsuits, people calling his job to try and get him fired from it, and things like this. Really normal people stuff, right? Normal people stuff. Crazy losers, man. All right. So, leaked Concord cost $400 million. The collapse of Concord's PlayStation's would-be next big sci-fi hero shooter has left a crater in the world of game development, and it's far worse than anyone initially thought. So, a lot of people have watched this video, reacted to this video. I saw a bit of it on Asmongold's channel. So we're going to watch it a bit over here. So this is a tweet from Colin Moriarty. So this is his Twitter handle, who claims to have spoken with someone who worked on the game. Concord was internally referred to as the future of PlayStation. And a lot of people are even speculating, was the PlayStation 5 Pro video promo cut short because they pulled out a bunch of stuff for Concord? Definitely plausible, with Star Wars-like potential. However, the game was ultimately undone by a culture of toxic positivity that stifled any negative feedback, and the staggering price tag of $400 million.
I want to talk about Concord. I wasn't going to ever talk about this game again because who really gives a shit? However, and I don't do journalism really anymore, as you guys know, and we talk about this a lot. I was a journalist.
So that's Moriarty?
At one time, and I used to break a lot of stories, and these days I don't really grind like that. So the stories that I break these days are usually people, always, not usually, always people coming to me. And someone who worked on Concord reached out to me, and I verified who this person was and went through all of that and talked.
So according to everybody, even Osmongold, this guy's credible with whatever he talks about. And also keep in mind, guys, that nobody has come out saying, like, not even Sony has come out rebuking the price tag, $400 million. So usually these companies, they come out and say, no, it didn't cost this much money. You guys are wrong on the figures. We're not going to release the numbers, but you guys are wrong on the figures. That's way too much. So I kind of think that maybe Sony is comfortable with the number 400 million. That's why they haven't really said anything about it.
Talked to this person extensively, for a long time. Ooh. And got some, I think, interesting information that I can share about Concord. I think people will be interested about it. The reason that I wanted to talk about it is because some of the assumptions that I had made about the game were dead wrong as far as how much it cost and how much Sony really lost on it. So the big thing that you really need to know here about this is that Concord cost about $400 million to make.
Bro, hearing the number, man, it's such a ridiculous number, man. $400 million. Suicide Squad cost between $180 million to $200 million. But also keep in mind, Suicide Squad is not a single platform. It's on multi-platform, and even Suicide Squad did actually make money. It didn't make profit as far as we know so far. Last I checked, they haven't made any profit, but they at least made some money back. Even Dustborn, with its dozens of players, made back some money, a few $1,000s. Again, not profit, but they made some money back. But Sony lost $400 million.
Oh my God.
And
yeah, exactly.
The story goes that Concord, by the time Concord was, so in the first quarter of 2023, Concord had basically entered an alpha state. This was before Sony had even purchased the team.
Okay, so just to make it clear, actually, hopefully the volume for the video, because I know guys, some of you guys were complaining about the audio between the videos that I was watching were way lower than my audio. So hopefully this sounds better. Let me know in the comments. So 2023, so this was, Concord was still not acquired by PlayStation, Sony.
But Sony had been working with Probably Monsters, and which was the original owner of Firewalk and Firewalk, probably since late 2020, maybe 2021 at the latest on Concord. The game was in development before that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Up to the point that the game went into alpha state, they had already spent about $200 million on it.
That's a lot.
And it's unclear how much of that money is from Probably Monsters and the original investors into the game, and how much of that money was from Sony. There's this term in product development, not only with games, but really with everything. You can like manufacture a tchotchke. You guys might have heard of it. It's called minimum viability, or a minimum viable product. Mm-hmm. The idea behind this, or MVP, the idea behind this is that this is like what you're trying to achieve. And it's like, once you cross this barrier, you feel comfortable selling it. It's not that it's the best it can be, or that it's what it's going to be by the time.
So it was good enough for them to present it to a buyer.
And you launch it, because there's all sorts of extra stuff you do to it. But this is the minimum viability of the product. When the game had already had $200 million spent on it and was basically in an alpha form in quarter one of 2023, from that point until the game launched, Sony spent another $200 million on it. The scuttlebutt behind the scenes about Concord is that the game was in a laughable shape when it was shown.
So this is apparently a somebody that works with the game telling Moriarty all this stuff.
And basically, like, when the alpha was ready to go and they were kind of being like, we're ready to kind of get moving towards getting this thing out in the next year or two, it was in such horrible shape that Sony felt like they needed to spend that much money again. So, 200 plus 200 to get the game to the MVP status, not to the status of it being like a great game, to get it to just viability.
Okay, so Sony, because I was maybe under the impression that Sony just listened to a Firewalk's PR sales pitch, but no, it appears that Sony looked at what the team had to show, and Sony was like, okay, this is bad, but we'll still give you another 200 million to make this bad game good.
And that at that time in Q1 2023, there was nothing done. Like, a major expense was having to urgently outsource much of the game to other studios to finish building the game out. And that two fundamental things were not worked on at all up to the point in which the game was shown in alpha.
That's crazy.
Onboarding, nothing about that. No, like, there was nothing about how players get on, like how they make their character, all that kind of stuff, or, choose their character and get there, and monetization. Two very expensive, very specific and boutique things that happen to games like this. And so that's the first thing that I wanted to say, is that it's not only about the ongoing cost, which would be in the millions to keep the game going per month.
So Sony knew how much it would cost them to run the servers for a game that was not going to be played. That's why they pulled it.
But that the game cost about $400 million to make, soup to nuts. Sony put most of that money in, and
chat, what the hell does that mean? Soup to nuts. Let me know in the comments.
And it is not only so, because we had kind of said, like, this must be Sony's biggest loss ever on a game, and it is. It's the biggest game Sony's ever released from a budgetary standpoint from the first party or second party. So let that sink in.
It's crazy.
And it's totally unintuitive. There are games that are in development right now at Sony first and second party that are more expensive than this.
That's more expensive than $400 million. How many of those games are Western games? Because
But as of the games that have come out so far, so think about like Spider-Man 2 and so on and so forth. We know The Last of Us Part 2 cost $220 million. Spider-Man 3 is going to cost about $350 million. This game costs more.
$350 million. Well, at least we know that the Spider-Man, like, I've only played one of them, but at least we know that at least the Spider-Man games, as woke as they were, they have a history of making money, making profit.
Than that. And they lost all of it because they made no money. They made about $1 million gross revenue.
All right, so the game. Okay, let's think about that. So the game cost $400 million. They made back $1 million. So there were still $399 million that was flushed down the toilet. And then, what did we say at the beginning of the video? Refunds. So that $1 million of sales went right back into whoever's pocket bought this game. So they literally made no money. So I wonder if he talks about this in later in the video. I wonder if it's $400 million just for the development, Or was this also including the marketing for the game? Because that's also millions and millions of dollars as well.
And then they gave it all back. So this is a huge, multiple hundreds of millions of dollar loss. Now the question is, why? Why did this happen? This game was heavily championed behind the scenes. Now we know this because Sony ended up, what's funny is that
now we're getting into the soup of the nuts of the
game is presented in Q1 2023 as this, we're kind of getting towards the end. The game is nowhere near being done. It's in a horrible position. And then Sony buys the team. The idea behind this was, and the term apparently verbatim had been used, that Concord is the future of PlayStation. That they had such major ambition.
Like him saying that is kind of like what's been leading to people speculating that the PlayStation 5 Pro video was cut short because they pulled out all the Concord stuff. I don't know what the hell Sony was thinking. Like, all you have to do is look at the characters, listen to the dialogue, and be like, or was it strictly Sony America that was involved with the decision making, and none of Sony Japan?
For this game, that it was referred to internally as a Star Wars-like project for Sony. That it
Ubisoft
can be repeatedly
revisited
over and over and over again, not only in cross-media, but in what we were seeing. We've already kind of seen little bits of it. So the weekly story vignettes that they were going to release, and then, of course, the inclusion in Amazon's Secret Levels anthology, that's like just scratching the surface of it.
Secret Levels anthology?
Ironically, the game was codenamed Chaos behind the scenes. And a major thing about the game is that there was, and I think we can kind of get this vibe from just the nature of the people making it and kind of the way the game reads and all that, a toxic positivity vibe. You weren't allowed to say anything, apparently internally, about this game.
Mandatory happiness. If you are not happy, we have to have a meeting of concern about why you are not happy and why you are critical of what you are working on. Bro, you have no idea how many companies actually have that sort of policy. You don't want to know how I know. But some companies, like we're hearing with Firewalk Studio, have a mandatory happiness, mandatory positivity policy. And that is pure evil.
About how like something's wrong with it, character designs are not right, and so on and so forth. They really truly believe this was Herman Hulst's baby, apparently, and he internally was himself a massive champion of the game. So it's not that. So the reason I'm telling you all of this, it's some interesting information, of course, but it's that I had said when people were like, Concord lost $200 million. Now people were pulling that money out because that's basically how much like some of the first party games like Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us Part 2, etc. kind of cost in that frame. And I was like, there's no way that it cost that much. I was saying like it cost $9.
Video game videos is very serious business.
Figures probably like low $100 million, but there's no way it cost $200 million. No, it cost $400 million. So
how though?
And I am totally solid on this source, by the way.
Like the only way I'm thinking that it cost $200 million, like he said before, the game originally as it was presented was cost $200 million to make, and Sony said, okay, this is garbage. We're gonna throw it in the poubelle, and we're gonna remake the game. Here's another $200 to remake the game, but better. I would love to see footage. Do you guys know if there's any actual footage? You can post the links on my Twitter account. It's the same as the YouTube channel GigaVega, minus gaming and movies. Is there any footage pre-acquisition of Concord? I would love to see what Sony said this was terrible and then approved the crap that made me wish I was blind and deaf.
So that's why I'm willing to share it with you. Because again, I'm not really a journalist. So yeah, the big things to take away: $400 million loss. The game was in horrible shape as of 18 months ago before release. Not even monetization, no onboarding, most content not even there. The game was in such bad shape at that point that they spent the budget of it again in urgent outsourcing to get the game finished from all of these different angles over an 18-month period.
Can you guys believe this shit?
Internally, the game was considered part of the future of PlayStation with heavy cross-media references and a system of toxic positivity surrounding it that didn't allow anyone to meaningfully change the course of the game. Because if the people at the top truly believe in something, you're not going to be able to do much about that, I don't think, from the trenches. So I thought people would be interested in that, and just wanted to throw that out there that, yeah, Sony really saw this as a Star Wars-like project for them, like the potential to, and now it makes sense. Yeah. Not only why they spent so much money on it, but why they bought the team. So there are people there, and to me, it's unclear who exactly the people are. I know some of the names.
Hopefully, they bought the team so they could trash it now completely. Look, you guys have to get rid of the activists in your companies. Upper management, whoever is calling the shots, making these games and whatever, TV shows, movies as well. You have to get rid of these people, man. You have to figure out a way to get normal people's feedback to Sony. Because look, I'm supposed to be the customer of this. I'm supposed to buy this. If I'm not going to buy it, that company wasted the money of Sony, the goodwill of Sony.
I don't want to get too deep into that because a lot of the things I learned were off the record, but obviously this is on background. And it's like, yeah, now it makes a little more sense. You spent, and by the way, the $400 million not included in how much it cost to buy the team. So yeah, so Concord is Sony's biggest released game by budget to date. And it is the biggest loss that they've ever had as a company on a project before.
Holy crap. So 400 million is not even the whole number. No wonder Sony hasn't made any statements correcting or denying that high of a price, because it's actually a low price. There's a lot more. And then as well, that's not including the marketing. I'm gonna go on record. I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna say that this game cost $550 million. Likely could be $6, but I'm gonna put my money on $550 million. So, continuing reading Smash JT's article. This beyond catastrophic development happened under Firewalk Studio, the studio Sony quietly acquired in 2023, developed the project. I spoke about this in great detail prior to release, as the writing was on the wall well in advance. I'm not shocked at the destruction, but the rumored loss on the cost is wild. Wild to say the least. So I don't know where Learning the Law got this picture, but it's a real picture. You're laughing? Sony lost $400 million on Concord, and you're laughing. Bro, see, I'll explain why he's probably saying, and you're laughing. So here's the thing. Sony has to make up that money somehow. Price increases for games, price increases for consoles. Don't forget, they recently increased the price of the PlayStation 5 regular in Japan by $100, right? We saw the release, the price tags worldwide for the PlayStation 5 Pro, $950 Canadian, $700 US, and that's just for the console. You want the stand, you want the disc drive, bro, this stuff is insane. This is why this garbage, this gutter trash, this artistic diarrhea, none of these characters are interesting in the least. Here we have the cheeseburger. There's nothing interesting about any of these characters. This fungus would be the most interesting looking thing of the game. And even David Jaffe himself agreed that this game is aggressively anti-male gaze. Absolutely no females' cleavage is showing. Oh, this one, we see her collar. Oh, very sexy, very sexy. Oh, we see her wrists. Oh, we see her hooves, her paws, sorry, her feet paws. So this is why, like, these people have no sense of humor, which is why ridicule works with these people. Sure, they'll try to ridicule you, but their form of ridicule is calling you a maggot or a chud. These are the same people, don't forget, that said conservatives have a problem with cuties. Cuties outrage is a right-wing thing. Get rid of these people from our entertainment. It's the only way that things will go back to any sort of norm. And don't forget, we're not even done yet. There are still dozens, if not hundreds, of games that were already in development that are going to be releasing over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So don't forget that. We are not anywhere near done. Hopefully some studios will put in some extra cash, make their game come out a little bit later so they can remove all this garbage. Where is the interest? This is boring. This is AI, but it is a little bit more cooler than this crap. By some estimates, only 25,000 copies of the game were sold. An abysmally low figure given the budget. Alright, I'm not going to read the rest of the article. You guys, I'll put the article in the description or in the pinned comment. Check out Smash JT's article. Check out his channel. Support people that are fighting back against this. We need to get back to a state of normality. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like. Please subscribe and help the channel reach 2,000 subscribers by the end of the month. I'm pretty sure we could do it. So I appreciate you guys giving me so much of your time today. And as always, come back for the next video. There will be Silent Hill 4 gameplay part 2. And I'm going to also record the Drag Queen Age Vile Guard character customizer. Alright guys, catch you on the next video. GigaVega out. Later. Alright, that's enough of that.